This is American in Ukraine. I've been told by a couple of people that you guys don't believe that I actually live here in Simferopol. So what I thought I would do is create a video and toss it here on the site, and you guys can look at it and make your decision as to whether I live here or not. What I've done is taken some videos of places that are part of my life, and places that maybe you'll recognize as part of Simferopol, since it's been in the news quite a bit lately. And then you can, make your own judgment as to whether I'm faking this or not. I do apologize for my throat. I'm doing this at the end of March, a couple of weeks after I actually took the videos. I've been a little bit sick. I've got asthma, and the spring has exploded here in the Crimea, and it's the air has got just about everything you can imagine in it right now. So it's a little hard to breathe and a little harder to talk. But here's the video, and you make your own choice. We'll start with my office. This is where I spend most of my time during the day, working on pictures, reading the internet, doing whatever I do. It's a fairly nice spot, a little cold in the winter and a little warm in the summer, but beggars can't be choosers. That brown pile of fur on the floor is my dog Jessica. She's been with us for a long time. We brought her from the States 8 years ago. She's American, born and bred. And we'll go outside. This is Simferopol. Cold, wet, windy day. Pretty typical for this time of the year. The buildings you see are Soviet-era batons, prefabs built during the Brezhnev era. Town center is just beyond those buildings you see in the distance. They built thousands and thousands of these things, designed them in Kiev or Moscow, and just slapped them up all over the former Soviet Union. In those days, convenience was not really important. It was just get the buildings up, get people into them. I think they were probably still cleaning up after the war, which raged through here in the 40s. So they were still trying to clean up from the mess. This is Simferopol. A typical day. The building you see with a blue roof is a newsstand, next to it a meat store. This is the master bedroom, and my office is just off to the left. This creature you see sitting on the bed is Barsuk. He's an orange tabby who literally wandered into our flat as a kitten. He's not terribly handsome, but he's got such a tremendous disposition that everybody loves him, and we couldn't possibly get rid of him. The bedroom is really kind of nice. It's warm in the winter, cool in the summer. Television. We actually have televisions in all the rooms in the house, a carryover from our days in the States. The furniture is Romanian. It's solid maple. It weighs a ton. The previous owner actually left the furniture here because it was so heavy he didn't want to move it. So we had a lot of nice furniture when we bought the place. Bathroom's next. Samsung washing machine. Old Soviet-style cast iron tub. Nice tile on the wall. Sink doesn't work. The pipes are full of rust and sediment. Nice Italian mirror. And this is the other half of the toilet. This is the mañana toilet. I'll flush mañana. I'll stop flushing mañana. I'll stop leaking mañana. It's Spanish. What can I say? Nice tile job, though. We have a kid who's almost 10. This is her bedroom. Lots of storage. These units don't have built-in storage, so everything has to be built and brought in. She's got a computer, my old Pentium 4 that I gave her last year. She's also got her TV set. Lots of stuffed animals, the kind of stuff you'd expect for a kid who's 10. She has a little balcony off of her bedroom, which is what that bright light is. And then we'll come over here, the old style radiator, and this is the kid. Nice kid. A little headstrong, but nice kid nonetheless. Next up, this is the living room. That massive dog you see in the background is Asshole. It's not a real name, but it does fit her disposition. She's almost worthless, except for one important thing. She's got a big, deep bark. And when somebody comes to the door, she goes absolutely ballistic and scares the shit out of everybody. So she's nice, for that regard only. Again, lots of storage, pergo on the floors. This couch is nice to look at, not terribly comfortable. German-Ukrainian joint venture built it. Final room in the house is the kitchen. We eat here, wife cooks here, spends a lot of time here. She really likes the room. It's very cozy. The gentleman on the television is the speaker of the Crimea Rada. His name is Konstantinov. I'll get to him in a little bit later. He's been on television a lot. You may have even seen him a bit. We have two refrigerators in the kitchen. This gray one is a Whirlpool made in India. Just zoom in on the soda on the table. It's a Sudro. It's Russian. It's an orange lemonade kind of thing. Kid likes it, so do I. Second refrigerator is right there. It's a German. The cabinets are these, you build them on site and hang them. I assume they're made in Europe somewhere. It's an Italian stove. The guy who had the place before us and did all the fixing, he liked Italian. Now we're outside. This is the courtyard outside our house. We got kind of lucky in that there's this large area. The gray thing in the front is a soccer field where the kids play soccer. Off to the left a little bit is a play area for the little kids. That thing in the right-hand corner down on the bottom is an air conditioner. We don't use it very much, but some days when it gets really hot, we turn it on. I thought I'd show you local television just as a way of convincing you that I am in Crimea. You'll notice this first sequence, I've highlighted the name of the channel. It's Krim, which is Russian for Crimea. The guy on the TV right now is the present Prime Minister of Crimea, kind of a shady character. There are rumors that he was a mafioso before he went into politics. Somehow managed to get himself elected the Prime Minister, even though he had almost no support in the local Rada. These are various channels that we have locally. If you notice the blue and gold flag in the upper part of the screen, those are Ukrainian channels. I'm going to go back to that previous channel because I want to point out something. If you look up here in the corner, that says Krim, Nash Dom, Crimea, our home. The colors of Crimea flag, red, white, and blue, which happen to be the same colors as the Russian flag. Not a coincidence by any means. A couple more channels. The Russians love to sing. There's always singing programs on TV. There's another Ukrainian channel called Inter. A lot of talk shows also. Here's an advertisement for a new line or a DreamWorks movie. This is Russia R to R. This is also Russian TV International. We got a lot of Russian television channels here. Another Ukrainian channel called S. And this is Mr. Konstantinov again. I'm a little more familiar with this guy than the Prime Minister. This guy, in his earlier years, ran a huge construction company called Consol. Consol was a rather shady outfit. They have a thing where they would take money for people to put a deposit on an apartment on a building they hadn't started yet. And then many times the building never started, and sometimes the building would start and take 3 or 4 years to get done. A lot of people lost money with this guy. Enough with the inside stuff. Let's go outside. This is the entrance to our building. It's pretty typical for buildings of that era. Like I said, very utilitarian. They just built them, slapped them up, and put people in them. Way up there is our apartment. You can see the air conditioner under the window there. First stop on our walk around town is the kids' school. This is the same school my wife attended 40 years ago. Ukraine is so broke that they couldn't even afford to maintain their schools. So a couple of years ago, a Japanese group came in and fixed up the building really nicely. They put insulation on the outside, put new stucco, new windows, fixed the roof, made it into a very nice place. It's a good school, one of the best in town, actually. One of the nice things is that the kid is learning English. My main reason for photographing the building was this character right here and his partner. These guys were supposed to be election monitors. You can tell by the red armband they're wearing. But if this guy's an election monitor, then I'm Tom Cruise. These guys were there to intimidate people. That's about it. Shortly after I finished filming this, his partner came sauntering down the street and started giving me the third degree. He wanted to know if I was press. He wanted to know why I wasn't wearing a press vest that gave my affiliation. I explained to him that I was a proud father photographing his daughter's school, which is true, for her grandmother who lives in Canada, which is quite true. Her grandmother lives in Simferopol, but anyway, this guy gave me a little bit of a hard time, and then he lost interest in me and wandered off to intimidate somebody else. But this is the environment that folks were voting in on the 16th. Just a little river runs through the middle of town, the Sally River. There ain't much to look at, but it's it is what it is. Off in the distance there, you can see a new apartment block that was finished a couple of years ago. They're still trying to sell apartments in a damn thing. The apartment market in this town has been a disaster. This is the center of town. They blocked it off. There's no car traffic. People can wander around. Most of the streets, as you can see, are these little decorative block things. They love these things, and they put them all over the place. Eastern Europeans, they love the circus. Major towns have their own little circus buildings, as you can see here. If you look very carefully, you can see a statue of a guy juggling there. They have performances all the time. In the summertime, the Moscow Circus comes along, and that's always a joy for the kids. A little red fire truck there. The town is ready for the big celebration because of the referendum, so the truck is there just in case. And we've reached the centerpiece of this video, which is Lenin Square in downtown Simferopol. It's all dressed up for the big party. It's going to be tonight. The referendum is on. Everybody expects it will be a positive vote. The statue of Lenin, always there. The Tatars in town wanted to tear it down a few days ago, but the city wouldn't let them. That blue and white building there is the Cabinet of Ministers. It's one of the two buildings that was taken over on February 26th. You've probably seen it in the news. Sweep back, a little closer view of Mr. Lenin. I thought I'd finish up with Central Market. This is a huge open-air market that just about every town in the former Soviet Union has. They sprang up after the collapse in '91. There must be 4,000 little stalls in this huge place with people selling everything that you can imagine, from clothes to shoes to hardware to food, medicine, you name it, it's sold here. At least once a week, my wife and I go to the Central Market and we buy all of our major stuff. It's a very interesting place. Well, that's it. A quick tour of Simferopol. Just to reiterate, I first visited Ukraine in 1999 on a business trip. Met my wife while I was here for that work. We decided to get married. moved to the States for a while, and then we moved back here in 2005. We've, we spent the last 8 years here raising a kid, having lots of animals in the house, and basically just living, living in a country that's in a lot of financial trouble, has a lot of corruption, a lot of other big issues. With the Maidan in Kiev, everything kind of hit the fan here. The the ultranationalists decided that they wanted to make everybody here in the east and in the south, especially in Crimea, uncomfortable. So they proceeded to start doing things like outlawing the Russian language and outlawing teaching of Russian in schools. And they were going to eliminate all of the Russian TV channels. It was just a lot of stuff that irritated, pissed people off. So people here in Crimea said, okay, enough. We've taken, 30 years of your crap. And we're going to go home. Today, the 16th of March, they had the referendum. Somewhere between 93 and 95% of the people said they wanted to leave Ukraine. It's doubtful that the election was anywhere near legitimate. There were reports of at least 100 and something percent of the people in Simferopol voting, but the outcome was still overwhelming. And since the referendum, we of course have been absorbed into to the Russian Federation, and we're getting used to now living in a new country. That's it. If you hopefully there's enough here that you can put your doubts at rest. I am living in Crimea, Simferopol. I lived through the revolution. I lived through Maidan. I lived through the referendum and everything else. And, you either believe me or you don't. I'm not going to make any more effort to convince you one way or the other. But have a nice day.